name is Greg Potter, and I'm the Senior Labor Relations Consultant for Capital Blue Cross in Allentown. We're very proud to sponsor tonight's event, so I hope we have a great night. Capital Blue Cross is a premier healthcare insurance provider in the Lehigh Valley and in central Pennsylvania across our 21 counties, and we're part of the National Blue Cross Blue Shield Association. Capital Blue Cross is very proud of our community involvement, and we provide dozens of activities like this each year, impacting in a positive fashion several thousand residents of the Lehigh Valley and across our 21 county area. Tonight's event is going to be a lot of fun, and we hope you will enjoy Emmy-nominated television director Stephen Horn and one of the top chefs in the country, Patrick Feury, as a guide through a fabulous journey through a culinary experience. Enjoy yourselves tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome to Healthy Fine Dining at the Chef's Kitchen. We're here tonight thanks to Capital Blue Cross and PBS 39 Leadership Society. Tonight we're with Chef Patrick Feury from Nectar and Common, both fabulous restaurants, and Jamie Avellini, who is a doctor at St. Luke's University Health Network. She's an OBGYN. Without further ado, Patrick, what are we doing?
Okay. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to make a velouté. A velouté is actually velvet in French, which really makes it a very, very smooth, silky. It's almost in between a sauce and a soup. What we're going to start out with is, let's talk a little bit about sunchokes. They're known of two things. They're Jerusalem artichokes, also known as sunchokes. The reason they're called sunchokes is because they're the bulb to the sunflower plant. They have a really, really nice kind of nutty flavor, just like an artichoke. So with these, I kind of like to trim off the outside because they have a lot of these knobs. It's really hard to get in between. Do you want to help?
Sure.
Just peel those after I slice them. So this is really going to be the base and the thickener of the soup or the velouté itself.
Is this something you have in your restaurant? You serve?
Yeah, actually, I've served it. I serve it in the restaurant, and I serve it a couple of different ways. I do it as a sauce. I do it as a soup as well.
Patrick has two restaurants. One, Nectar, which is absolutely spectacular. It's been around for a long time. It's won great awards. He's a fabulous chef. He has a great resume. And if you go to the restaurant, it's not on the menu, but you want to order the lobster fried rice. It's better than any Chinese restaurant you ever go to. He was at what was the restaurant in town you were
a little bit, Susanna Fu.
Susanna Fu.
Yeah, I worked with her, and we also opened a restaurant together in the Brigada when it first opened. Before that, I was in New York for quite a bit. I worked in Paris as well with Fleur McKenna, and I was the assistant chef at Le Cirque in New York City. Also worked for Chris Larson from Aquavit, a little Scandinavian stuff, so worked around a little bit. When you're introducing like a cold product into a hot pan, make sure the pan is actually extra hot than you want it. It'll get your head start on cooking itself.
That's what the Chef's Kitchen is about, by the way. What he just told you, it's tips and techniques of the nation's top chefs. I like to cook. I mean, I go back with PBS, and my first show that I watched was Julia Child, and also with the gourmet, what was it,
Galloping Gourmet.
Galloping Gourmet. But I watched Julia Child, and I remember that one night, it was about 11 o'clock at night, it was in black and white, and she's making omelets. Oh, I'm making omelets. So she made 6 omelets, right? And I thought it was amazing. I went down, I made 12 omelets that night because I was so impressed with what it is that she had done. So the Chef's Kitchen is tips and techniques of the nation's top chefs. So when you watch a show, you learn about having the pot hot. In other words, people will cook something and they'll put oil in a cold pot. You never do that. You have to have the pot hot to do that. Also, when you put something in, if you notice when you flip it, it doesn't cook as well because the pot is now cooled off from the heat of it. So you learn all these tips by watching the Chef's Kitchen.
Right.
Jamie, tell me a little about what you do.
So I am a full-time OBGYN with the St. Luke's University Health Network. I did my residency at St. Luke's as well, so I've been with the network for about 14 years now. I am also a mother. I have 2 kids, a 3-year-old and an almost 1-year-old. So I am definitely looking for this type of thing where I can go home after a long day's work or even being on call, and I can have my 3-year-olds help me out, really get involved in the cooking process, try to help me choose different things. I can teach him about where the food came from, why it's healthy, what's good about it, and he just loves it.
All right, so what are you doing now, Patrick?
So I'm just taking the onion and just gonna dice it small. And again, depending on the size of the actual product that you have in here cooking, whether it's a soup, whether it's a sauce or anything like that, the smaller you cut it, obviously the faster it's gonna cook and get completely to a puree consistency.
The best thing about chefs on the show, which I happen to like, is knife techniques. These guys are amazing. His brother, Terrence Feury, is incredible. I mean, I've never seen knife techniques as good as Terry has. And
He's okay.
the first show I did back 20 years ago, I had Terry on just doing knife techniques, slicing, shallots and things. The guy is really amazing. But they're brothers, so it's
Yeah, little sibling rivalry. So we got, with the recipe, we have chopped garlic, celery, but when you're throwing product into a pan, when you have oil, pull it away from the stove, okay, because you don't want that to flame up. So as you see, it is really hot, but it is going to cool down. We want it to get to a little golden brown, so it's going to take about maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So we want to get slight color on it. It's going to pull out a little bit of the sweetness of the onions and also the celery. And so we got this. The last thing we're going to do is garlic. Okay. And the garlic, really, I cook garlic a lot by smell. When you get it in there first, it's kind of got that really raw garlic flavor to it, which is like, I really don't like. I like to definitely let it get a little bit cooked out, caramelized, and then it just kind of takes that kind of flavor that you would actually kind of get a burp from or whatever that. And it's usually what people don't like about garlic. So we're going to let this completely get coated with all the hot oil that's in there and cook around and kind of bloom together with all the other product. So with this, use either, you can use a vegetable stock, you can use, pretty much any stock you want. You can use chicken stock or not, but I like vegetable stock in this because I like the beauty of like it just being completely vegetarian and then taking the flavor from the lobster. One thing I'm going to do with this a little bit is just, because we're using lobster, I'm just going to take a slight little bit of tomato paste, drop it in there, and then we're going to cook it out. It's important to cook that tomato paste out too. So we're trying to, and I kind of like when you're making some purees and things like that, is to actually have your vegetable stock or whatever stock you're going to use for it, have it already hot. So it's going to cut down the cooking time quite a bit. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to have our garnish, and the star of the dish is our lobster.
So this is healthy fine dining in moderation.
Well, yeah.
You can't have lobster without butter.
No, not at all. So the lobster's starting here. I'm going to take some of the meat itself, let that cook. Okay, this is a perfect opportunity to introduce our rosemary. And you don't need a lot. You just need a hint of it. Rosemary is going to want it definitely to be one of the last things that you do in the dish, because if you leave it in the dish too long, it gets kind of a soapy flavor to it. So we want this to get completely tender so that we can puree it. A little bit of rosemary in the lobster itself.
Sometimes when we're doing the show, chefs will have dishes that they make, and it doesn't cook the way they want to as quickly, so we have to stop tape. Because our show is totally edited, it's not live. So when you stop tape, you let them catch up to where it is, because you don't want them to overcook things, and you don't want people sitting watching a pot boil for like 15 minutes.
Exactly. Luckily for all of you that are hungry, I did this whole batch before we started the show, so I have it in the back ready to go. I'll drop this in here. Yeah, well, anytime you're blending anything hot, make sure it's together. Make sure you know your blender itself. Take a towel over the top of it as well, extra protection, and then start it at low speed. This, the amount of liquid to product in here that's going to puree is going to be a little bit thicker than I want it to be, but we're going to put the sour cream in there, and it's going to blend in really quickly. So as we see right now, and it's got that little tinge of red in it from the tomato paste. Always stop after taking it off, because a lot of times it'll like pop up when it's. So I'm going to season it. I'm going to put my pepper in the lobster itself. I'm going to take this. And again, you can use this, butter, or,
Can you use yogurt?
Yogurt, sure. Why not?
Jamie, well, that's going on. Tell me a little bit about baby meat. What do you do on baby meat?
So I work along with the chef Maybe in these circumstances, I would help with the blender, help prepare, plate the dishes, and I'm a great tester. That's my favorite part.
So, yep. So here we have a very silky veloute. With the lobster itself, claws are going to take a lot longer. The claws are going to take about 7 minutes. Cook the tail for about 5 minutes. Then take the meat out. The meat's going to be still a little rare in the tail. The claws will be cooked all the way through. You want those cooked because you'll never get them out of the shell itself. The other thing is that the lobster itself, you're going to finish out cooking it in butter.
Let's taste.
That's
Yeah.
Thank you.
Host does this all the time.
Thank you.
Good, Jamie, you're first.
I'm gonna take this piece right here.
It's good.
Delicious.
Very light for a velvety sauce. This is very light. It's not heavy, and it doesn't take away from the lobster taste.
It doesn't. No,
You
you
just
can really
missed.
taste that
Yep.
rosemary.
We have Tekla with us.
Yeah.
Tekla is a home cook.
Yes,
So what do you like to cook the most?
I love cooking fish. I love pasta, vegetables.
Okay, well, we're
Yeah.
making pasta and potatoes. Patrick, what are
That's
we doing?
great.
What we have here is a dumpling, and actually this particular fold that we're going to do is called the Shanghai fold. There's different folds depending on the region. First thing we're going to do is we have to bake off potatoes, right? So we have
These are the wrappers we're going to use. And everybody's intimidated to make the dumplings because they think it's so difficult to do. It's
Yeah.
really easy. So Tekla is going to show us how easy it is.
that's right. So those potatoes are really hot. Don't do what I did. So first things first. The one thing about working with potatoes, whether you're using it for mashed potatoes, or whether you're using it for a dumpling like this or anything, use them like you cook them off and use them immediately because as they sit, they kind of get a little bit starchy and they get like a little bit gluey, and we don't want that. So here you're gonna help here. This is where. So we're gonna open these up, and then we're going to spoon them out. So.
It's best to say.
I'm going to put this in this towel for you so you can hold it.
Okay.
And just be careful because they are very hot.
Yep.
Okay, you got that?
Sure.
Okay. So
Remember,
now
you volunteered for this.
I did.
And I don't mind skin. Skin's good.
Okay.
Yep. So just get that in there. Beautiful. Now we're going to take a fork. Okay.
I
neat.
like having people on the show actually
Whoopsie, sorry.
cooking because I don't want people to think that this is so difficult they can't do it at home. Our whole show, all of our shows are about cooking at home and having better food at home because you want to really be able to have the same quality that you have in a restaurant at home. And it's not that difficult. All you have to do is learn the tips and techniques of what to do.
That's perfect.
Do you want me to
Okay.
smash this? Is that
Yep.
why you gave
Yeah,
me this?
just, yep.
Okay.
Fork them. Some of this. Some ginger.
Patrick, tell me
Some
about your new
scallions.
restaurant, Common.
Oh, the Common is it's in University City, 36th and Market. It's a fun place. It's more casual. It's definitely built for students, but just for fun. We were voted the best burger in Philadelphia Magazine and also Philadelphia Inquirer. So we got both awards on our burger. So that's the scallions and the ginger and the garlic. Okay.
Smells so
We want the garlic to be a little bit roasted in there. So here you can mix that together. Potatoes, it seems they always need a lot of salt
Yes.
in there because they
Whenever you season, you always season by layer. So you don't have to season it all at once. You season, taste, season, taste, season, taste. Because if you put too much salt in, you can't take it out. So you go light in the beginning to make sure that you're in the right process.
Yep, you can't take it back. So this is just a little bit of water. Now we're going to do, and everyone's going to help, is we're going to
I'm not helping.
fill the dumpling. So we get a dumpling wrapper. And again, if you're going to wrap dumplings, you kind of want to keep them covered because they will dry out. So you want to do half of it with water there. All right. We're going to take just a smidge, put it right in there in the middle. And then we're going to fold them together. So we're going to make a half a circle. So we just got that. Okay. And then after, I'm going to put it on one corner. I'm going to fold that and bring it around and pinch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that
And
easy?
there we go. Okay, you guys want to try? I'll do another one.
Okay.
You won't be eating these dumplings, don't you?
Fold it in half. Okay. In the bottom corner. And then this top one you're going to fold. And then pull this around. And it's very much like a tortellini. You know, it's got that same shape there. There's going to be 2 cooking techniques here. So we have some of these made.
Is that just water?
That's just water. So we're cooking off the dumplings just like as if we were going to cook some, like, whether it's tortellini or anything like that. So what I got here
easy,
is
isn't
that.
It is very easy.
It's very easy.
You
It
could do
is
this at home.
intimidating, though.
Oh, definitely.
It looks
Do it at home.
intimidating. It looks
does.
intimidating, but it's not intimidating. It's very easy. And you can do anything in this. Once you have the wrappers,
Yeah.
you don't have to do potato. You can do anything. I
Right.
mean, you could do
True.
Yep.
seafood. You could do meat.
Okay, so they're just cooking in here. We want them to cook just like you would like a pasta or ravioli or. So we want to cook the skin completely. We're going to let these cook out. They take about at least 3 minutes to cook. So we're getting a saute, we're getting a little pan, get that hot ahead of time. So pull these out. All right, so what we're going to do in here is we're going to use actually a little bit of olive oil. Okay. All right. And again, like when you're putting olive oil into the here, and especially when you're introducing it to something that it may have moisture in it, pull it off the stove so that it won't flame up. So take these. See, like it spits a little bit, but that's all because of the moisture from the dumplings themselves. And you can almost like take them, and with these type of dumplings, you can actually kind of push them down so that you get a little more surface with the caramelization of it. So that's really nice flavor, especially with potatoes.
So when I direct the show, my crew, all the camera people have walkie-talkies, and I watch 4 monitors, and then I let them shoot what they're shooting, but I have a certain vision I want in the show. So I'll walkie him and say, listen, I want a high shot, go higher on that, and go in deep in the pie. And then the host has an IFB in her ear, and I'm saying things to her that she has to repeat verbatim. If I say it smells good in the kitchen, she has to say it smells good in the kitchen, because I really want my voice heard on the show, because I'm really talking to the audience. I know what the audience wants to know, and I know what they're looking for, so I want her to have my message through her. And the host we have of the Chef's Kitchen is fabulous. She's a chef, and she was the finalist of the Next Food Network star, and she's a wonderful person. She's really great with all the chefs. So I get my point across, but she also knows what she's doing as well. So it's a nice combination when you're watching the show. You actually see something that's beneficial.
So we got this nice light and brown, light color. I'm going to throw our sage right into there. It's going to kind of pop a little bit. We're going to make this butter. We're going to use a little bit of butter because I want it to get brown in here. Who doesn't put butter on their baked potato? So it is all classic flavors that we're working with, just in different presentations. And that's a lot to do with the Baby and Me as well, is that you're using classic flavors, you're putting things together, and then a kid's perspective of the food itself is either creamy or crunchy, and a lot has to do with textures, things like that, and kind of familiar things that they had, like Stephen said before, like Kraft macaroni and cheese, those type of things. But you can replace them with something that's just potato puree and things like that, and they kind of identify with it, and they just have fun. So again, it's just by repackaging classic flavors, things like that, is a way to appeal to young kids and get them healthy food. So they kind of get bubbled up a little bit there. All right. So we're going to go.
So now your whole family's going to want you to be making dumplings now.
Definitely. I'm going to be making dumplings.
There you go.
See,
Great.
I have to ask you a question. I've cooked for a long time, and I like cooking. I cannot make a presentation on a plate. That's my stumbling block. I used to have parties where get people drunk, turn the lights down, and serve the food. Is there any technique, or is there any, this looks really fabulous. I mean, you did a great job. It looks very pretty, very artistic. And, what can you, recommend for a home cook to make food look presentable on the plate?
Okay. I'm going to sound a little hypocritical right here because you guys are going to get 2 dumplings on your plate. But Always use odd numbers, I
Yeah.
think, is the best. You know, it just works better with presentation. So having an odd number kind of gives you that more of an option to kind of make it into a circle, but odd numbers always work on presentation.
Dig in. You're the creator.
Yeah,
You
here we
gotta
go.
go first. I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I'm not shy.
I'm grabbing from the pan. And again, they're hot, so
You're hot.
thank you.
Yeah, you too. They're good. You're gonna like these.
Yeah.
These are really good.
I can't do it.
You see how even though we added a little bit of salt, it still, takes over.
Delicious.
Because of the dumpling, the wrapper itself, itself. So
That's sage.
yeah.
It was wonderful. It was really a great experience.
Fantastic. I am glad I came.
So what we got? We've got a pretty simple dish here. Actually, it's a Vietnamese influenced sauce itself. The nice thing about Vietnamese cooking is that there's been so much French influence there as well as French Indochina before that, and they really picked up a lot of techniques so that, if you're cooking French, Vietnamese cooking is kind of side by side, and they do a lot of what they call gastrites, is which one of the things we're going to do here. Gastrite is kind of a combination of equal parts sugar, equal parts vinegar. So you're kind of canceling them both out. Inside chilies, and chilies are, you could have the same chili, you could have a jalapeno serrano, you could have Thai chili, all of those chilies, and they could all have different heat to them. So just you kind of want to know which chilies you're working with, because we do like a little bit of heat in here because it is heat, sweet. The seeds are hot. So we're just going to, we're calling this is brunoise. Very, 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 very fine dice technique for these. So we're going to go one way, going to go sideways, all the way
See,
down.
that's great knife techniques to do that like that. I mean, it's very difficult to do that and do it that quickly, and then to do it for 50 peppers.
So we can film this. You can
Karen's
send it to my
going to give
brother.
us a shot on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right.
And whatever you do after you touch the peppers, do not
Excuse me?
touch your eyes or your mouth or your nose after that.
Right.
All right, Karen.
What I have this pan on is getting really, really hot for the halibut itself. In this pot, what we're going to do is we're going to start our sauce. So remember I was talking about
It's a regular
gastrique.
knife. What do you
Gastrique
want
is
to
just
do?
introduction of
You want to-
equal amount of sugar to equal amount of vinegar.
just get this-
So it's going to cancel each other out. We're going to start out with
So you want to get rid of all that
sugar,
pith.
and it's equal amounts of sugar it is to the vinegar itself. So we're going to start in here.
There's one.
Whenever you want to
one's- that's
caramelize sugar at all,
destroyed.
introduce a little bit of the liquid that you're going to have, just enough so that it won't get brown and it won't burn. Next, we're going to take the halibut itself. Halibut's a really nice white fish.
One thing about cooking fish, what people always do incorrectly is they overcook fish. Fish is not supposed to be well done. It's not a steak. You have to cook fish so it's rare in the middle. Otherwise, you lose the flavor of the fish. Don't be afraid. I mean, people eat sushi, it's raw. Same fish. You're just searing this. Halibut especially. If you make it, or swordfish, if you cook swordfish too long, it'll taste like a blotter. You don't want that. You want it to be opaque. You want it to have firmness to it, because then you'll have the flavor of the fish. You'll taste the flavor. Because fish is very subtle. You go into a market and you buy fish and it smells, don't buy it. Whenever you buy fish, you ask the purveyor, let me smell that fish. If it has any smell, don't buy it.
All right, so we got a really hot pan. Again, we're going to pull it off the flame. Introduce your fish. This is starting to get a nice caramelization on it. It's really fun, and that's pure flavor. So I'm going to put in the rest of the vinegar that I want. This is a fish sauce. So we just want to caramelize each side of this fish. Leave the center, let it just kind of, I call it carryover heat. When you sear it, turn the pan off, and the carryover heat just going to kind of work its way through from the top and the bottom. So I just added a little bit of soy sauce. I just wanted this. This is one time where I'm going to say, take garlic, put it in there raw, and let it cook out, because it does work well with this one. And we got some peppers. Thank you. So what I have here is I have cornstarch and water, which we call it a slurry. So what you want is kind of like, you don't want it super, super thick. I like it like this, and then we're going to add it to it, introduce it to this, and this is going to give it that glazed consistency so that you can kind of, it'll sit on top of the fish itself. You do need it to cook out, so that needs to come up to a simmer to kind of get the cornstarch starchiness out of it.
You serve this at your restaurant, Nectar?
We do. We actually have, I have a soft shell crab I use the same sauce on. So I got some Thai basil. Again, I'm using just regular olive oil. With asparagus, it's one of my favorite vegetables. The one thing about asparagus that's important is that I like to cook it just so it's still crunchy, so I got a little bit of consistency with it. My mom is from England, and we used to eat canned asparagus, so that's kind of why I'm a cook now. Don't tell her that. Sorry. Okay, so we're gonna plate. So we're just taking this. And again, if you're gonna plate, this is a restaurant thing more than a home thing. It's like plating near a plate when you have hot product in your pan. It spits a lot, so it gets grease like everywhere. So this is what we wanna just take. And again, just the crunchy asparagus here gives a texture. And I think that, you know, if you have young children too, and you wanna get them to eat asparagus, having it crunchy, it's almost like how like carrots are, raw carrots, things like that. The kids like really love the consistency and the crunch of it, and it's just really much more fun, and it's even, for me, same way. So then we got our fish, and again, if you look at the fish on the side, it's still opaque.
Perfect.
So we're gonna go with
Shocking.
3. So that's just gonna be a glaze on top, just like that.
Fabulous. Looks great.
And then,
These chefs are really very creative and very artistic. And I believe chefs are like artists. And you look at a painting, you look at the brush strokes and things like that. It's the same thing. These guys have to do something that looks good because you eat with your eyes. And then not only does it have to look good, it has to taste good. And then they have to make 50 of them. So it's really a talent. And that's what we like to showcase in our shows is the artistic, creative talent of the chefs. And this fish is cooked properly, which we didn't wind up not doing on the show because everybody says, it's too raw. Isn't that different?
That's really good.
See, you get the taste of it when it's rare like that.
So good.
Perfect.
Delicious, right?
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed every part of it. I learned some nice skills. It was great.
As I say in the business, that's a wrap. We're done. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.